Hey everybody, welcome back. We're here in St. Barts, and the astute among you will notice that we are in VR today. I'm using my Pimax Crystal Light. So we're here in St. Barts, and I'm in my beloved Britain Norman Islander, and you can see my FPS is about 58 right now. And I wanted to show you guys how I set this up, how I got everything going. Obviously, this is the visuals are just incredible. It is so crystal clear. I know that setting up VR is not easy, and now that I've gotten a bit of a hang of it, I thought I'd share with you guys what I've been doing. So let's go take a quick flight here. First, I'll show you what I got. Little external power supply on, rotating beacon on, mixtures and props full forward, master and battery switches on. We'll go fuel pumps on. Fuel valves are open. Let's turn the mags on. Take a look outside and make sure there's nobody out there to kill or maim, and there is not. Right engine start first. There's a good start. Oil pressure is good. Left engine is clear. Good start. Oil pressure is good. Lean the mixtures, avionics master coming on. Close the starter hood cover. I'm gonna leave. I'll turn the fuel pumps off. You shouldn't leave the fuel pumps on, and therefore I shall not do so. Let's go nav and strobe lights coming on. We'll wait for the avionics to come up. Transponder squawk altitude, and we've got some fellow aviation enthusiasts. You can see right there taking off, and St. Barts is looking just gorgeous this beautiful day. This is Flight Sim 2020. Unfortunately, Flight Sim 24 is not optimized for VR. The visuals in Flight Sim 24 are unbelievable. It's just it's a lot more. It's a lot less optimized. It's a lot more difficult to get good performance. So, all right, mixtures leaned. We'll release the parking brake, we'll release the tow brakes, and we'll just tap the brakes, make sure they're working. So, I am new to VR, and I've had the Pimax Crystal Light since probably mid to late December, and I spent a lot of frustrating time trying to set it up in Flight Sim 24, thinking that was the way to go, only to realize after a certain amount of time that I switched over to Flight Sim 2020, and with the exact same settings and the same hardware, obviously, performance was literally double, if not better. I mean, you can get a decent FPS in Flight Sim 24. It's just not smooth. And in Flight Sim 2020, it's just brilliant. You can see my FPS. I know the FPS is perhaps a little bit annoying to have there in the middle of the screen, but it's important for demonstration purposes. All right, we'll go mixtures and props full forward. Set the flaps. We'll go fuel pumps on. And the first thing that really jumps out at me, and I've heard from a lot of people that, VR is, so much better than 2D mode, and how much I'd like it. And I was always kind of skeptical because I have a lot of physical hardware that I interact with. Get back. This is another thing. Even little things like this makes it so much easier to get back and use every inch of this runway when you can really get a sense of how far away you are from the end of the runway in the hill. So we'll go mixture some props full forward. Fuel pumps are on. Flaps are set. Seatbelts are secure. We're ready to go. Landing light coming on. Toes on the brakes. We'll bring in the power slowly. Let the power build up. Takeoff power is set. Engine instruments are in the green. We'll release the tow brakes. That is a short field takeoff, ladies and gentlemen. And the particular, I haven't done much flying in airlines in Flight Sim 2020 in VR, but the experience in GA is just amazing. get a little bit of trim in here, a little bit of nose down trim. And we'll bring the power back to 25 inches. We'll bring the props back to 25. And turn to a heading of 060 coming out of St. Bart's. And one of the other things that I think is really underappreciated about VR is the 3D outdoor view, the outside view. Just amazing. So we'll make our turn here. We're gonna stay in the pattern. I'll just do a landing here in go that way. Can you go that way? All right, thank you. I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing here. I'm gonna leave the fuel pumps on. I'm gonna leave the flaps set for takeoff, simply because when I do pattern work, I like to leave a notch of flaps in, and I like to I'll just leave the fuel pumps on. So the experience in GA aircraft, and I haven't really done a lot of complex aircraft flying, a lot of 737 flying, for example, in VR, but in GA aircraft like this, it's just uncanny how good it is. And the really, to me, the biggest difference, and you can see my FPS is pegged at 60 there. To me, the biggest difference in VR versus regular, and this is going to sound almost silly, is the depth perception gives you a head start on being able to make pitch and power adjustments when you're coming in for landing. Like this is a challenging landing. Obviously, we're going to come back to about 21 squared here. This is a challenging landing, obviously, at the best of times, and I've got it down pretty well. It's like anything else. Sometimes I have my good days, sometimes I have my off days. We'll turn base here, but the difference in VR is I can tell as soon as I turn final, am I high, am I low? Am I descending on a proper descent path or not? Do I have to adjust? And you can make those adjustments much sooner. And what we're going to do to make sure we're on a nice base leg, see, I've got my runway heading bugged. And once I get that on that left hash mark, I know I am on a perfect left base for runway 10. I'm going to start bringing the power back. I'm going to set the next notch of flaps here. And I'm going to bring the power back to 1500. And once we hit Sugarloaf, which is right there, just going to hold that nose up a little bit. You can see Sugarloaf right over the edge there. And now we'll turn in. I'll let the nose drop. And now I've got a little bit of speed, a little bit extra speed. Fuel pumps are on, flaps are set. What I'm looking for is 800. What I'm looking for is 80 knots. And I'm looking at 800 feet right above that rock in front of us. And see, right now I can tell I'm on a really comfortable path. I can already tell I'm on a really comfortable path. What I am not is the only issue I have is I'm a little bit slow. All right, a little bit fast rather. So I can make my adjustment. I can't see that rock, obviously it's below me. Look at these visuals, but I can get a sense I'm about right there, about 800 feet. We'll go mixtures and props full forward. Bring a little bit more power out because I'm creeping a little bit high. But I have such a good feeling right now for my vertical position, my glide path. I can tell I'm just let that nose drop, only because then what I can do is pick that nose up a little bit. We're going to bring out more power, and that's going to bleed off some speed. Power's all the way out. And it's just so much easier. A little bit too much energy on that approach. Bit of a bouncy landing. But this airplane slows down really, really well. Not the greatest approach in the world, but if I had made that approach in 2D mode, I don't think I think that would have been a go around. I don't think I would have been able to perceive early enough the change that I had to make in order to be able to get that down. And even though I had a lot of energy, I brought it right over, just right down the edge of the hill there, which is something I always struggle to do in 2D. I really can't get close enough to the hill to get the airplane down, you know, in the first third of the runway, say. It's very difficult in 2D mode. And this is only my second landing in this airplane in St. Barts in VR, you know, so give me another 2-3 landings and I'll be spot on with this. So the advantages of VR are enormous. There's two things. I've always said that it's way easier to fly a real airplane than it is to fly in the sim. Way easier. And there's two reasons for that. Number one, you can feel everything. You don't have to look necessarily at instruments to tell, you know, if you get a gust or if, you know, what your airspeed is trending at. You can tell. You can feel it. Trimming takes 2 seconds in the real airplane. In the sim, it takes 2 years. Even parking, I can tell how far I am from that little cross. I can tell. And parking is crucial. It is crucial for good piloting. All right, let's see how we did here. Let's go. Mixtures to idle cutoff. Throttles are idle. We'll set the parking brake. We'll turn the lights off. We'll go avionics master off. We'll go fuel pumps off. We'll go mags off. Put the flaps up so as not to make fools of ourselves. But the second reason why flying in real life is so much easier than flying in the sim, and we'll go master and battery switches off. We'll open these babies up. Is just the depth perception and the ability to have that innate sense of where you are in space, and be able to make, you know, minute adjustments so that you can put the airplane where you want to put it, you know, at the correct speed, and it's just a lot easier. And so VR does not give you both of those things. It doesn't give you number one I was talking about, which is the feel, but it does give you the depth perception, and that is huge in you know, improving your piloting in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And I have no doubt that once I get the Cherokee, I'm gonna get back in the Warrior and fly the Warrior in VR, and I'm gonna be able to get into my real airplane once it comes out of annual in a couple weeks, and I'll be that much better prepared for the real flying season because of VR and Microsoft Flight Simulator. So it's an incredible experience. But you've also seen this FPS. I know it's a little fuzzy for you guys, but you can see I'm pegged at 50 right now in the cockpit, you know, actually upper 50s to 60. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've shown you what it is and what it looks like, I'm going to show you what my settings are. Then I'm going to show you how I set this up and got this looking so great. And I've got performance headroom. I can turn my settings up in looking at what my FPS is right now. I've got room to spare in order to increase my settings and get an even better visual performance. So let's go through it all. First things first, I'll show you my settings. Here we are in the sim. We're going to look at the settings. First of all, these are my PC settings, just so you can get an idea relative to what I do in VR. DX12 DLSS quality with DLSS 4. I used to run DLSS DLAA. Now I can run DLSS quality and get just awesome visuals and performance. Come down here a little bit. So terrain level of detail and object level of detail, never set that at an even number, 150, 180, 200. Always set it either, at 205, 195, something like that. I don't know why it works, but it makes a difference. You can see ultra, 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 everything here. Come down here a little bit more. Everything on ultra again. So you can see everything that I've got here. Motion blur off because I don't want to vomit, and everything else, pretty much jacked, right? And so let's go to VR, and this is what I have set for VR. And VR is a lot more. There's a lot more detail to the settings. There's a lot more kind of programs that you use outside of the sim to help get your settings the way you want them, to help to get the visuals. But these are the settings that I use in the sim. I'll show you the rest of what I set up and how I set it up here shortly. But I use DLSS balanced. And so this is specific to the Pimax Crystal Light. So you may have different settings depending on what hardware you're using. This fidelity sharpening at 190, world scale at 100, reprojection mode on depth, low latency on. And come down here. Off-screen terrain pre-caching is important. Ultra. Terrain level of detail I can increase because, as you saw, I've got performance headroom in the sim. I mean, I'm getting a very smooth, even in flight, I'm getting a very smooth upper 40s, near 50 FPS. And so I can turn that up and get a little more out of my visuals if I want to. There are certain things that mean more to me than others in terms of visuals in the sim. One of those things is volumetric clouds. I find clouds very, very important, particularly for the type of flying that I generally do. Lower level type flying. I like to see nice clouds. I also like the waves. I like the waves to look nice. Obviously, flying a lot in the Caribbean, so I may turn that up to high actually, and spend some of my performance headroom on that. Shadows I've got turned up high because I like to see it gives you a nice view in the cockpit. And you can see the rest of the settings here for my VR stuff. So those are the in-game settings. And now I'm going to go through the other things that I do to get VR set up, and I'll do it all in order how I did it, show you everything, and we'll hopefully get you set up running really, really nicely as well. First thing we want to do is come here to the NVIDIA control panel. You can either do it in your global settings or the program settings. Probably program settings is a better idea if you use other programs. Select Microsoft Flight Simulator. Come down here to image sharpening, set to on, and then set this to 0.25. And what that does, it helps you, it makes objects that are further off in the distance crisper, makes them much more clear. So you click OK. And then we come down here to power management mode and select prefer maximum performance, and then click apply. There's a few pieces of software that we need to install, and they need to be installed in a particular order in order to get the results that we're looking for. I'll put links in the description to everything that you need, and I will put them in order of use so that you install everything in the correct order. At the end, I will show you how to double check and make sure that you have everything installed in the correct order. The other thing of note is that some of the files that are on GitHub are all signed files. You're not going to have to worry about them getting flagged by your antivirus. There are going to be one or potentially two other files later on in the process that are on Google Drive, and they may be flagged by your antivirus program. If your antivirus program flags them, they're okay. Everything that I show you in this video, I am currently using. So I'm not showing you anything that I am not literally using at this moment. And I've had no problems with any of these pieces of software. So just be aware that your antivirus may flag some of this stuff. So the first thing we need is the Pimax OpenXR. We come here, click here on this link. It's going to download. I created a VR folder so that I have everything in one place. So I saved the Pimax XR installer right here, double click that and run it. And then once it's installed, I put shortcuts also in my taskbar just because I use all this stuff regularly. It makes it a little easier. Then open the Pimax XR program. For me, I don't use Steam, and I think that's why I get this notification each time, but you just click OK, it doesn't matter. And this is the Pimax XR runtime, the OpenXR control center. So now we have this installed, just close it. Next up, we want the OpenXR Toolkit, and you're going to see here, as of 2024, support has been discontinued. Don't use it, etc. I completely ignore this. Everybody still uses OpenXR Toolkit, and it's vital for what we're doing. So you come here to the download link, click the download link, save the file to your computer. You run the installer, it will install the OpenXR Toolkit. And when you open that, it's going to look like this. Now, when you first install it, it's going to show version 1.3.2, but we're going to add a mod that will give you this 1.3.8. So close this. Now, the developer of this mod, the 1.3.8, requested that instead of putting links directly to the download page for his mod, to link to his video, and I'm going to respect that. Come here to this video on YouTube. Right here, there's the new DLL version. It's a Google Drive. Click on that. It's going to open. You'll see it's now version 1.3.8. Come over here to the right, this down arrow, click on it to download. Download the file, download the zip file to your computer. And when you unzip the zip file, this is what you're going to see. Now, what we have to do is replace a file in the OpenXR Toolkit installation with this version. There's two ways of doing it. You can double click this bat file and it should theoretically install this folder into your OpenXR Toolkit install folder. I prefer to do it manually. So what you want to do is come here to your OpenXR Toolkit installation. The standard installation location is C, Program Files, OpenXR Toolkit. You come down here, you're going to see this file, XR API layer ambucia _toolkit DLL. What I would do is make a copy of this file so that you have the original one before we replace it with the one from the mod. So I copied this file, and then here in my OpenXR Toolkit folder, I created a backup folder, and I saved that original file right here. Now, from the OpenXR mod, you want to take this file, it's the same name, come here to your OpenXR Toolkit installation, paste it into the folder, and it's going to ask you to replace the file in the destination. You may have to do this as admin. If it does, an admin request will pop up. So replace that file. Now we want to open the Pimax software and the Pimax OpenXR control center. You want to click on Pimax XR. Come in here to the device settings. First of all, my refresh rate is 120. Under games, I have medium as my render quality and hidden area mask selected. And then here under general, you want to click this, set Pimax OpenXR as OpenXR runtime. So click that. And then advanced, everything is the same. Close this. Come here to the Pimax XR runtime. Make sure this is selected right here. This is a stock setting, recenter headset and startup, that's fine. You want to select lock to half frame rate. You want to make sure that's locked, make sure that's set. This box here is not going to be checked. This will be unchecked, the enable quad views rendering. Click here on the link below it, the download link. It's going to tell you you'll be taken to the download page. Click OK. And then over here on the right, you'll see download and installation. Click download and installation. And then right here, quad views foveated 1.1.3. Click on that, download the file to your computer. I've got it saved right here. Double click and run that. And then once you've run that, then you select here, enable quad views rendering. You may have to restart the control center. You might have to close it and restart it before you can do it. But click enable quad views rendering. And then here in the device settings, under games, you want to click Pimax OpenXR Quad Views. Click Apply, Apply Success, and then just in general, on the General tab here, make sure the OpenXR runtime is Pimax OpenXR. Now we want to run Microsoft Flight Simulator. All right, now once we load into the sim, you open up the OpenXR Toolkit. The stock keyboard shortcut is Control F2. I would recommend changing that to something that you can, feel relatively easily. But once you open up the OpenXR Toolkit, you'll see at the top we've got the Ohne Speed Mod version 1.3.8. Now come over here to the info page and you'll see headset resolution. Okay, that number right there, headset resolution. For me, it's 3234 by 3826. Write that number down, and now let's exit back out of the sim. All right, now we're going to take that number and use that number to set up the proper resolution, the ideal resolution for our VR headsets. So once again, Ohne Speed asked not to link directly to the download page, but rather to his video, so I will respect that. So you'll come here, come down to this OpenXR Toolkit Configurator. Again, it's a Google Drive. And as he notes here, as with any unsigned executable file, there will be a virus warning. Again, I've used this. I am using this. There's no problem with it. So click here on the Google Drive. So you'll see here, the zip file is called password_toolkit. That's the zip file you want. Come over here, click on the download button, download the file to your computer, save it to your PC. So I've got it in a folder, OpenXR Configurator. This is the original zip file that you downloaded. You have to right click that. I unzip it using 7-zip. Click extract files. It's going to ask you for the password. The password is toolkit. If I could spell toolkit, that would be helpful. Here's the folder. You come in here, and there's another zip file. Extract that. And here's the configurator. So copy the configurator to your OpenXR Toolkit folder. So you can see I've copied mine. It's right here. Now we double click on the OpenXR Toolkit configurator. Then when you open the configurator, this is what you'll see. From the drop-down menu, select your flight simulator. The first number goes here. In my case, it's 3234. Down here is the second number, 3826. And then simply click crop to FOV. Then close out of this. And now we want to run Microsoft Flight Simulator again. A couple things to note. You do not have to leave the Pimax XR Control Center or the OpenXR Toolkit open when you're simming. You do not have to have either of them open. Once you set them up and configure them, you can close them. It's good. So here in the OpenXR Toolkit, one of the things I did to make moving around in the menu easier, the defaults are kind of weird. So you'll see here, this is up, left, open / down, and right. The defaults are like F1, F2, F3, and F4, which is a little bit awkward. So I just changed it to up is the up arrow, left is the left arrow, down open is the down arrow, and right is the right arrow. Down here you have modifiers. So I have control selected. So I have to hold down control and then hit these buttons to move around in the menus. Because I did that, one of the things that happens is you move around in the sim as well. Like, you know how your left arrow, your up arrow and stuff moves around, moves your person around in the sim, your view around in the sim. So what I did is I created a VR keyboard, and then I deleted the up arrow, I deleted down, I deleted left, and I deleted right. Otherwise, if you don't do that, as you're moving around in the menu, your view will move around in the sim, which is just annoying. It doesn't cause any harm. It's just irritating. So that's one thing I did. was create a VR headset and then, you know, set these buttons up to make things a little easier. All right, here we are back in the sim. We have OpenXR Toolkit open. And the first thing we need to do is go to the menu section right here. And you will have show expert settings. No, you want to switch that to yes. Now, after you've done that, we come back here to performance. I'm just going to show you the settings that I have, and I'll give you kind of an idea of the things you can do. You're going to have to experiment with it to find out what works well for you. Come down here to upscaling / sharpening. I have that set to CAS. And then sharpness I have to 80%. Now, fixed foveated rendering, this is what we were talking about before. And it's really pretty interesting. So what I use is the preset quality wide. Now, again, what fixed foveated rendering does, it reduces the resolution on the periphery of the screen, leaving the center of the screen, what you're looking at full resolution. And that gives you quite a bit of performance back. Now, when I first started playing with this, I was using the custom option. And you can see here, if you look to the far left in particular, and to the far right, you can see the resolution on the building, and over towards the left, the hill there is really, really poor. And that's because that's the outer ring. So the outer ring is 1/16th resolution of my full resolution. So if I change that now to 1/8, it's a little better. If I change it to 1/4, it's a little better. If I change it to 1/2, it's a little better. You're reducing the resolution on the edges of the screen, the outer part of the screen, to make the view, to give you better performance while still maintaining a crisp view in the center. When I first started doing this, I played around with these outer ring sizes and the middle resolution and all this stuff. I played around with it quite a bit. I found that the sacrifice of the outer resolution, it just didn't work for me. And so I found that the preset quality wide is really pretty good. I mean, there may be a slight decrease in the resolution on the outside of the screen, but I don't notice it much. Turbo mode you want to have off. It only gives you a couple of FPS, but we can't use one of the settings in the sim, the motion reprojection setting. If you turn this on, you can't use motion reprojection, which we do want, which we have set. So I leave that off. Frame rate throttling we do in the Pimax XR control panel. We did that earlier. I think it's lock half frame rate is what it says. If we come up here to appearance, there's some really kind of neat stuff. And before I forget, you see at the bottom, it says restart the VR session to apply changes. What that means is, it doesn't mean you have to exit out of the flight or exit out of the sim and restart the sim or the flight in order to get the changes. You just have to restart your VR session. In other words, like I have a shortcut of control spacebar to go from VR mode to regular mode and back. And so if I wanted to restart the session to apply these changes, all I have to do, control spacebar to get out of VR mode, and then control spacebar again to come back into VR mode, and it's going to apply all of the changes that I have. So if you see that menu, if you see that indication at the bottom of the menu, that's all it means. You don't have to restart your flight or your sim. The appearance, you can do post-processing, color, brightness, contrast, etc. I don't play with any of this stuff. This is kind of neat though, especially especially in the Caribbean. You can put sunglasses on. I thought that was pretty creative. Now inputs. This one, over prediction reduction, it's mainly for people who record videos in VR, because as you've I'm sure seen, some recordings in VR can be jittery. They can be very jittery. By reducing the over prediction reduction, you can take a lot of that jitteriness out. You can make it smoother. But I believe that's only for people recording. Come back up here to system. Now this is where we really get into the settings that can make a big difference in your FPS. We come down here, your override resolution initially is going to be on no. Okay, now crop to FOV is that resolution that we set in the configurator. We put those two numbers in and then clicked crop to FOV. And now if we select crop to FOV here in the OpenXR Toolkit in the sim, it's going to give us that ideal resolution that the program, the configurator, configured. Now you can also go custom, change the resolution, the XY resolution for your headset. You can set it manually. Crop to FOV, you can see it's 100%, 2776 by 3284. If I come over here, 100% is going to be that 2777. If I want to lower that resolution more, I can do that, and it's going to give me more performance by lowering the resolution. Maybe try 95%, maybe try 90%, whatever, you know, and you'll have to see what it looks like to you. I find the crop to FOV setting to be really good, so that's what I use. And then down here, field of view. Now, when you come down here initially, these are all going to be set to 100%. I've turned them all down to 90. Now, what does that mean? We are literally just shrinking the field of view in your VR headset. It's what my headset is rendering right now is 90% of every direction that I could be looking at, right? So 90% of what I could potentially see above me, I can see. So I've cut off 10%. I can see 90% below me, you know, in the kind of peripheral vision down that I could see, and I've cut off 10%. I've set these all to 90%. And so what it does, it just shrinks the field of view. Obviously, by rendering less of what it could potentially render, you're going to get more performance the lower you set these. Now, I've seen people set them down to 80%. I haven't really had a need to go down that low because my performance has been very good, but you can go down to 80%. Maybe you have an RTX 2060, 2080, something like that, and you need more performance. If you need more performance, this is how you get it. Lower these numbers, and you can see as I move this, it's cutting off part of the screen. That's why it's moving around as we do that. So these are the settings right here where you're going to get a lot of performance back, or a lot of performance headroom. And you might think that cutting these things off is going to give you like kind of a restricted view, where it's going to look like maybe a flat movie screen in front of you. It doesn't. Can you tell the difference? Yeah, the first time you do it, you know, like the first time you load in and see it, you might think, oh, it's not quite as expansive as I'm used to. But believe me, the performance it gives you, it's well worth it. It looks just fine. It's VR. It doesn't take away any of the VR experience. So those are the settings. Those are my settings, and that's about it. I would like to thank Pimax for giving me the crystal light to review and to look at and get familiar with. I think a lot of this information can be found in different videos throughout YouTube, but not all of it can be found in one place. And there's also information on various websites. And putting all the pieces together, I think, is the biggest challenge with VR. And as I hope you can tell, it did take me quite a bit of time to do this, to put all this together and to organize it in what I hope is a coherent, way for you guys to do this. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the comment section below. I may or may not be able to answer them, to be honest with you, because I've learned a lot about VR. The reason it took me so long to do this video is because I didn't want to just do another VR video. I just didn't want to, jump in, put something out, get some views, etc. I wanted to make sure that I, could give you something that would be helpful. In particular, somebody who's starting off brand new with VR, it's overwhelming, and it takes a lot of research, takes a lot of time and effort to get this stuff. It's just it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to figure out. And hopefully, any of you who are considering moving to VR, if you do, there is a discount code in the description of the video for the Pimax Crystal Light, and I can recommend it without reservation. It's it's extraordinary. It's much better than what my expectation was. The performance is very, very good, considering I have a 3080 Ti and a 12700K. I'm 2 generations behind now in terms of PC hardware, and I'm still getting excellent performance out of this and really, really enjoying VR. So I hope this is helpful to you guys. I hope everybody's having a great day, and let me know what you think, and we'll talk soon.